I say Nicetas.
Yes.
I see you laugh, smiling, because you cannot say Mama's name, Nicetas, without breaking a smile. Because that's what she brings to all of us, family and friends. When I first met her, I was trembling because I was stealing his precious son. Well, he is the precious son of the family, and I am just one of the 11 daughters, so almost dispensable. But what really made her face light up is when she asked me, I was very pregnant then, and said, what are you going to name the baby? And I said, oh, she will be called Zita. I didn't even know what her name was. So she thought that I named Zita after her. And so that broke the ice. So a few 2 years ago, she and Ethel asked Dodong to sell off a land which he inherited. So the proceeds was divided among the neediest nieces and nephews, which they did not expect. So when I asked her and her sisters, oh, why are you giving it to Dodo? And she said, oh, because he is the most trustworthy. And now I know what trustworthy meant. It was entrusted to him to be given away as usual to his nieces and nephews who will never forget her. So I will end my speech there because I want you to hear from the precious son.
Thank you everyone for coming to commemorate our mother's life. Before I celebrate my mother and what she stood for, I would like to share what it was like for my mother and my family and the family when she collapsed last July 15. My sister Cynthia called 911 to bring her to Luma Linda University Medical Center, Murrieta. We all rushed to the hospital from LA. In the past, she had several episodes of low sodium, low potassium, low blood pressure at the apartment at Manila Terrace in Los Angeles. We brought her to St. Vincent Hospital. And each time, she bounced back and played mahjong with her younger Coro. Sometimes, she sneaked out to Pichanga Canyon, Pichanga Casino, not my canyon country, with my sisters. One morning, she called me, so I felt anxious. Could she be sick again? No, she told me she hit a jackpot in the slot machine. Then she hid her money under her bed. That was our little secret. I could not believe she had put away $20,000 under her bed.
Oh my God.
And then she asked me, please deposit this $10,000 into your account for safekeeping. None of us expected a healthy, independent, 96-year-old mother would finally succumb to liver cancer. She showed no symptoms. After an exploratory incision into her stomach, the doctor discovered the disease. She had only a few days to live. We were all shocked, confused, and in disbelief. We just knew she had a will to live, a fighting spirit. We did what we could do to ease her reunion with the Lord. May I thank you all for coming here today to help our family heal and celebrate my mother's life, our mother's life. My special thanks to my cousins who came down from Northern California, and some of my friends who came up here from Las Vegas. Mama was born to Daniel, Sabina Rizon in a small fishing village called Caceres in the southern tip of Cebu Island in 1925. The family lived in a house with no electricity. They fetched drinking water from the well and washed clothes in the river. Imagine living that in 2021. She went to elementary school in Caceres and high school in Oslo. World War II broke out, and during those years, she volunteered to help the guerrilla. After the war, she ventured to Mindanao, worked in a bakery in Iligan, where she met my father, who was from Mauban, Quezon. He just passed the bar exam and was appointed a Justice of the Peace of Tamparan. And after a short courtship, they got married. I love to remember my mother when she was full of life and taking risks. She started a store in Tamparan, Lanao, catering to the military personnel and to the Christian community. Ethel and I were born there. The business thrived so that my father's salary remained in his account in Manila, untouched. In Cagayan de Oro, when they had 7 children to feed, Mama traveled as far as Palawan, Coron, Marindoque, Bohol, and some other islands. She bartered both, sold goods and jewelries, and brought home money to supplement my father's salary. She acquired a bakery and employed her sisters. It did not last long because she fell ill. When she recovered, she put up a hair salon, hired a top-notch beautician from Cebu, and the salon was called Perlac Salon, and it became the #1 beauty shop in Cagayan de Oro. During those times, she learned to bake and cut hair while operating the business. When the family moved to Naga, she opened a small store, later turned it into a cafe. Even though she was doing business She made sure she looked beautiful, wore elegant dress, danced with my father in the office parties and the Lions Club affairs, and most especially on Sundays, she did not miss Mass and say the Rosary. And she would be the first one to remind us of our religious obligations. Since I retired, I used to pick up Mama at her apartment in Manila Terrace and bring her to the doctor's appointment. And once a week we would go to the bank, then to the Vietnamese supermarket, market in Chinatown. Sometimes she would buy live chicken and have it dressed. She picked the vegetables, fish, and meat herself. She did not trust my shopping skills. I paid with my credit cards for the shopping, but she insisted on giving me the cash equivalent. She liked also giving me driving directions, where to turn right, turn left, and park. I did not mind. It made her happy then. In one of those drives downtown, she told me, when you and Ethel studied in Manila, the monthly allowance came from me. Came from my savings, not from your father's salary. I was surprised. She had so much money then. Once I visited her up here and saw a lady in the apartment, a distant relative who just arrived from the Philippines. She let her stay until she got settled. Mama helped many people, some unrelated to us, start a life in the U.S. I could see some of you here today, and I thank you. While I was working, Mama often reminded me to help our poor relatives in Cebu, and I supported her. She would tell me to be true to my character and values. My mother will live on with me for the rest of my life. I'd like to end this quote with a quote by Stevie Wonder. He said, "Mama was my greatest teacher, a teacher of compassion, love, and fearlessness. If love is sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of love. If Mama touched my hearts, or your hearts, then I ask you, what else can anyone else ask for this world but to touch people's heart? Thank you, Mama."
Many of you were shocked and even cried in disbelief when you heard that our mother passed away. Why? He said. We just saw her just a few days or a few weeks ago. She looked well and healthy. And some of you said, but we just talked to her on the phone. She sounded happy and excited while talking to us. Even our family in the Philippines could not believe, because they just saw through FaceTime on her 96th birthday last March 20th. But I guess death does not choose when you are called by God. Mama was born in the year 1925, and she lived through the Second World War during the Japanese era in the Philippines. She was actively involved, as my brother said, in guerrilla movement in her hometown in Oslo, Caceres in Cebu, and helped the Philippine Army by cooking meals and running errands for them. I guess this is where her dedication to help others who are in need began. Mama was part of a local theater group that held road shows during the pre and post-war period in different neighboring towns. No wonder Mama is so good at dancing and has a beautiful soprano voice. This is where we, her daughters, acquired our love for music and dancing, but too bad, none of us inherited her beautiful voice. I mean, we all love music and would fight for the microphone whenever we have karaoke sessions, but no one has Mama's melodic voice. She loved to sing Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. But my favorite was her rendition of Matulnila, a popular Visayan folk song. I don't know how she did it, but with so many of us, her children, Mama always had time for each and every one of us, especially when we are sick. My brother Elmer, who is asthmatic like her, recalls how Mama would rub all medication on his back until he falls asleep. I remember how we all love to tag along with Mama when she goes to the market, and she would make sure to allow us to take turns in going with her. I love accompanying Mama to play mahjong when I was a child, and she would make sure to take me especially to the one where they serve my favorite biko and pancit bihon. Mama was the perfect partner for Papa, as what my brother just said. She helped support the family by engaging in different businesses. She operated a bakery business, followed by a parlor in Cagayan de Oro. When the family moved to Naga City, Mama would sell homemade tocino and chorizo. He forgot to mention that. She also operated a tricycle business, and at the same time managed and owned a cafeteria in DBP. In Manila, she was involved in native handcraft industry, including puka shells from Cebu and wood carvings from Laguna. Her main customers were the foreign businessmen from Indonesia and Malaysia. Mama came to permanently live in California, USA in the early 80s. She didn't settle as babysitter to her grandchildren, but she found time to earn as caregiver and companion to the elderly. That's how innovative Mama was. There was never a dull moment with Mama. On weekends and holidays, she would go to Las Vegas with us and travel to different parts of the country and Europe. We have many fond memories of her, and to this day, we never get tired of telling her story to her grandchildren and her great-grandchildren. Mama's last few weeks in the hospital was the hardest. But we are grateful that we are able to move into our new home in Menifee and spend the last beautiful and happy memories with Mama. At this moment, I'd like to share a quote from a famous personality. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That's what. Godspeed, Mama. Praise God, you are finally home.
Good morning. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Pamela Simeon, and I'm the grandchild of Nicetas Diamante. I'm very heartbroken by the death of my Lola, but honored to have the opportunity to reflect on her life with you today. It is important that we acknowledge and fully experience all the emotions on which we have gathered here today to say goodbye to Nicetas. The relationship I had with my grandma was very unique. I am the youngest in the family of grandchildren, so the experience I had with Lola was during her later years. I used to think my grandma and I had little in common, mostly because of the generation gap and because she was born in the Philippines while I was born here in America. Little did I know we had more in common than I thought. When I was young, my grandma taught me a finger play song, Pin Pin de Sarapin. Although I cannot translate the meaning of this song, it was always special to me, singing this song and playing the game whenever I'm with Lola. I guess you could call it one of our traditions when we get together. My Lola really loved games just like me. The last game we played was on one of my last few visits here. We played rock, paper, and scissors in her native language. We played this game all the time. The first 2 times, we would always get the same hand. And on the 3rd try, for some reason, it's like she had intuition on what hand I would give her because she would always win. She was good at games, but never a cheater. We'd have talks here and there, talking about the games she played at the casinos. One of my last conversations with her, or as my aunts would say, interviews, she told me, "You cannot cheat the machine, but the machine will cheat on you." Maybe that's why I prefer to play with a real winner, my Lola Citas. She taught me hustlers never lose. She was the real hustler. From a very young age, I can remember her always playing mahjong with my mom and my aunties. I never understood that game. All I understood was when she said, "Pong, all up, all chow." That was my cue to congratulate Lola on her winnings. I knew she loved playing the game as a way to gather with my family. She did not play for the monetary reward because she would give me her utang to buy white rabbit candy and hot flakes at Temple City Market. She loved her family so much. In between games, she would cook her delicious pompano fish, caldereta, and my favorite, dinuguan, which is, for those of you who do not know, it is beef blood stew with pig ears and snout. I remember one day she was cooking dinuguan. My family used to tell me it was chocolate meat. That was until I saw the label that said beef blood. From my teenage years until I was 24, I did not eat a lick of dinuguan. Now I hold a very deep regret that I never learned. I never learned to make it like the master chef herself, my Lola. My Lola was the GOAT. She was the greatest of all time. Many who know her not only to be a great cook, but the most nurturing, hospitable, fun-loving, funny, selfless, and charismatic woman. Growing up, I remember going to the Westwood Farmers Market with her picking out the best fruits and vegetables for the family. Her having the best candies in her purse, babysitting me and my siblings in Vegas, watching her favorite TV shows, Wheel of Fortune, Price is Right, and Jeopardy, and going to her house in Temple for gatherings. Everyone knew my Lola. I remember going downstairs to the Bahay Kubo, not only because I did not know how to order food in Tagalog, but because I enjoyed the interaction she had with the workers and the community. One day, I went without Lola to get her favorite fried chicken, but before I could order, they asked me where my Lola was. what she's up to. It is the little things that I would miss. The way she molds her mahjong tiles. The way she moves her eyebrows up and down just to make me laugh. The conversations we had. The games we played. The selfies we took. And delicious food she made. I remember her yelling at the Lakers to shoot the ball, throwing her hands in the air to dance. The way she would sneak in money in my hands while my parents were not looking and say, "Don't tell." The way she sang, "Don't cry for me, Argentina." The way she loved my dog, Tez. And of course, when she'd say, I was the favorite and not to tell anyone. Although my heart hurts because I cannot see her, there is a poem that shares how I feel, and I'd like to share it with all of you. God saw you getting tired. God saw you getting tired, and a cure was not to be. So he put his arms around you and whispered, "Come to me." With tearful eyes we watched you and saw you pass away. And although we love you dearly, we could not make you stay. A golden heart stopped beating. Hard-working hands at rest. God broke our hearts to prove to us He only takes the best. She lived a simple life. She did not expect much and loved her family unconditionally. It didn't take much to make her happy. Just a simple phone call, a visit, or even sharing a meal. Knowing someone like Lola should make us all feel a little better, knowing she has gone to a better place. She left as a legacy and has made an impact on each and every one of our hearts. We can never forget that there is a part of her in each of us, something that she gave to us and asked nothing in return. What she left here on earth is not just a wonderful memory, it allows her in so many ways to remain just as alive, as always, alive through us. So for your wisdom, strength, humor, compassion, selflessness, understanding, patience, and your love, thank you, Lola. I'm so thankful and blessed to have ever known you as your grandma.